I think another high ticket item that I very much regret buying that I feel again I
Mm.
shouldn't have is a baby swing. And I know this can be a controversial one because some people really love their swings.
Welcome everyone to another episode of The Modern Indian Parent. I'm Sanchita Daswani, a pediatric nutritionist.
And I'm Rinie Gupta, a pediatric sleep consultant. And every week we bring you episodes where we are redefining parenting in Indian families.
The topic for today are items that we regret buying as parents. I know when you go to the stores, there's so many options of things to buy. It's very confusing and overwhelming, but we are going to tell you the things that you should not look at buying.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, and we are very type A mamas. We are very hyper organized. We research the hell out of our baby items, but still, we ended up with these absolute regret buys. And we're going to share them with you today so that you can save a buttload of money and just get the right things for your baby. So let's get right into it. Sanchita, hit us with your first regret.
Hey, modern Indian parent. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, do follow. We thank you for your support.
Buy.
So the first one actually I learned about once I became a pediatric nutritionist, because when I started solids, I knew my kids needed to have water, but I was like, okay, I walked into the store and I'm like, why are there 100 cups? And there's so many different kinds, right? There's the straw, there's the open cup, there's the sippy, there's the 360. But now I can tell you as a nutritionist, one I regret buying are these two cups, the sippy cup and the 360 cup. Why do I regret buying this? Because now I know that these cups are actually made for parents, not for your child's benefit. Because the reason they were made is so that we reduce spillage. Because when your child is drinking from an open cup and straw cup, they tend to spit out, things tend to fall. So that's why with the sippy cups, a lot of parents are buying it, but actually it doesn't advance your child's oral skills. It actually is like a bottle. So I didn't know that. So my kids had the 360 cup, and I remember when they to drink it, you have to kind of tilt your head back, which is actually not safe. But I was like, how will they know how to drink from an open cup or straw cup? I can't. They're not ready for it yet. But now I know that an open cup and straw cup are so important. They're life skills, and with all kids, we know it's just about consistency and practice. And the sippy cup, literally the spout is similar to a bottle where you have to suck. And by the way, guys, your kids don't need a lot of water from 6 to 12 months. So the reason that we get these cups is to make sure they don't make a mess and to make sure they drink a lot of water, but they actually don't need a lot. So I would avoid buying the sippy cups and 360 cups, and I would actually get an open cup to start solids with at around 6 months that you can offer post meals, and then around 7 months, get a straw cup and start practicing every day in between meals so that when your child actually turns one, you can get rid of the bottle and move on to milk in a straw cup also.
Amazing tip. Yes, I have spent money on those 360 cups. The one from Munchkin, I think that's the one. Waste of money. I shouldn't have used it.
So, Rini, why don't you tell us about one product you regret buying?
So, if you're talking about strollers, and if you're a parent
Hmm.
who hasn't yet bought their stroller, let me tell you, if you're looking at if your criteria for buying a stroller is to have a lot of storage space, you're going to regret buying that. Because if you're somebody who travels internationally or locally or even goes around by cars a lot, if you've got a really big stroller, they're going to be super hard to fold. So we had gotten this even flow stroller, which was sort of huge storage basket turned into a basket and all of those things. And at that time we thought that, like, okay, if it has a two-hand fold, it's easy. But when we actually started traveling with our baby, taking her around even to parks and stuff, I realized when you're traveling alone, you need a compact stroller. You need a stroller that folds with one hand motion. Like, it should just be a click of a button and down goes. You need the stroller to be hassle free. So then I wish what we could have invested in instead is a lightweight, compact stroller from the beginning. We got the Even Flow Auto after a point. I think even the Baby Zen Yo-Yo is a great choice. The one from
It's the
Silver
best.
Cross, those are great. I think these strollers were really good in not only being like a good choice for newborns because they go in a pretty lie flat setting, but also because they had one hand fold and they were very compact and lightweight. That's the one I should have bought and not that big, gigantic elephant wheel stroller.
Even being in Asia, a lot of places are small. So you need a compact stroller if you're taking your kid out, and where are you going to store it in the house? Or my friends had bought like that big bugaboo one, and they couldn't even fit it in the lift in some of the buildings in Hong Kong because there's no space for it. So definitely, and I have twins, right? So I was really like, okay, what stroller? Should I get the twin stroller, the one where it's like front, like two in front of each other, or the one that up and down stroller? And I was like, is this a joke? Like, where will I fit this in my house? Let alone in Hong Kong in the streets with this big, gigantic machine. So I actually just got two of the babies. Like, literally, my husband can open both like this, close it, and like hold both in his hands. And it has a strap. So whenever we travel all the way back to Curacao, like, it's so convenient. So, yes, let's avoid those large strollers. And I want to ask you about this one topic because we've been discussing this a little bit about these baby loungers. What do you think about those?
Regret buy for me personally.
Mm.
Like I actually had a baby lounger, which was gifted to us as a part of our baby registry. And I thought I'm going to be using it a lot because I thought I'm going to be co-sleeping with my daughter. So then she would sleep with the baby lounger and I would sleep next to her on the bed. So we did that for a while. Then we even started using the baby lounger within the crib and I started making her sleep there. But I'll tell you when I realized it was a regret buy for me. It was after I became a sleep consultant. I started learning about safe sleep practices. I realized that making a child sleep in a baby lounger, whether it's for naps, whether it's for overnight sleep, it is not safe for them. Because with a baby lounger, literally they're surrounded by this massive padding all around them. Then the risk is that even if you have a newborn, they still have some slight movement. And with newborns under the age of 6 months, there is a huge risk of them being rolling into the padding, which could accidentally suffocate them. It was so scary to me when I found out, and I was like, oh my God, I was unknowingly doing these things when my baby was young. So I would say the baby lounger was a complete regret buy for me. How about you? With your twins, did you have baby loungers as well?
I remember I had borrowed it from two, and luckily I got two. I had two friends who didn't need it anymore, and I actually loved it. Why? Because see, I when they were sleeping in their crib, I would put it in their crib like you did as well, so it would really make them feel snug. And then when, for example, I had people visiting, okay, obviously I'm not taking the crib outside, so I just take them in the sleepy head, and I would take that sleepy head outside and put it on the sofa so that I knew they were in a secure space. So I like the convenience about it. But when I started following you and started understanding about the safety of sleep, then I started realizing, wait, this wasn't actually safe. So I loved it, but for the safety of my child, I it's a regret buy. But what I want to ask you then is, because the reason I liked it was because I could move my child around, especially in those first few months when they're not moving and they're sleeping, they're in one position. So, what should we do, like when we have visitors coming and we want to make them, move them outside? What should we do instead?
Absolutely. So, see, the thing with a baby lounger is that by itself, it's not a bad product. It's good to have for awake times and for supervised times. So, let's say if you are
Uh,
talking about like getting your baby outside for the visitors could interact with them, sit around them, for that period, a baby lounger is great. But you want your kid to sleep next to you, let's say while you're in the living room or you're in the kitchen, I would much rather recommend getting a portable bassinet or even a portable crib, because portable cribs usually they are very lightweight. You can literally move them
yes.
around from room to room. They have most of them have wheels underneath. So getting something like that might be much more
Mm.
beneficial if you want to have an alternative sleep space.
And I want to ask you, since we're on the topic of sleep, those the baby move pillow which has the hole. So I had just bought it because I was like, you need a baby pillow. Your kid's head is going to change shape. Is it is it a good buy or for safety perspective, or how is it in terms of sleep?
So Sanjita, the head shaping pillow that you're talking about, right? The one
Yeah,
with like the round pillow with a hole in the center so the kid can kind of like the head can stay in that little cavity over there. See, the
exactly.
traditional equivalent of that pillow is that mustard seed pillow that I think I'm sure our
Mm,
mothers used for us when we were kids. And the whole
yeah,
idea behind these pillows is that it keeps the child's head in like a bit of a curve so that it
yeah.
prevents their head from flattening.
Flatter.
You see newborns that spend so much of
Mm,
their time just lying. You know, they can't move that much. Whatever movement they get is through tummy time. So in awake supervised
mm,
periods, it is okay for them to have their head on a head shaping pillow.
mm,
So I wouldn't call it a regret buy. I think with the both the lounger and the head shaping pillow, they can be two very good resources if used
mm.
safely. If they're used unsafely, that can actually, endanger the safety during sleep time, especially. I would not recommend it.
That's what I really find so interesting, and that's why I really appreciate the work you do, is because again you have all these different tools that I thought for my kid to sleep better they need to have this to be snug, or I was scared about all these things happening when they are asleep, but actually a lot of these things are not necessary for the sleep. And I want to talk about the next item, which is a bottle warmer. So a bottle warmer for those parents to be is when basically you need to heat up your milk, whether it's breast milk or formula. You put it in a bottle warmer to warm it up before offering to your child. So for me, I found it a regret buy because honestly, I didn't even use it. I would literally just, put the bottles in some warm water and let it get warm on its own and then offer it. And then I'll just test it and then offer it. I found it much quicker. I found, and like, especially if there's like a technical glitch or I didn't use it at all.
And it's bulky to carry around. Like honestly, I was like, once you
Yeah.
start just using kettle water, just heat some water in the kettle. It's so much quicker. It's available everywhere, wherever
Mm,
you go. You don't need to carry the
yeah,
that bulky bottle warmer everywhere. You travel.
true.
So I think that was honestly, I had two bottle warmers as well, even though I only have one baby. I know you've got two babies. Neither were used very much, right?
Mm,
Let's talk about another one that I regret buying: baby blankets. And I kid you not, Sanchita, I
mm,
had four of them. Two of them I bought,
yeah,
two of them were gifted to me. And they were
yes.
these like really plushy, soft mink blankets. Some were cotton blankets. And I was thinking, wow, this is amazing. My baby's going to be so comfortable and snug and happy in it. And
Mm,
at that time, I loved it. But again, the same thing when I became a sleep consultant, I started learning about the safe sleep practices. Then I realized baby blankets were a regret buy because what it did is that having a loose blanket in your baby's sleep space, what it does is that it kind of becomes a potential suffocation hazard. You think about a little baby who's got this like big piece of cloth, and then you may think that like the very moment
mm,
they will get their face covered, they will cry and they will alert us. But what happens for
mm,
little babies is that that may not be the case. The risk is that it covers their face and it blocks their breathing, and you will never actually get to know in time. So that is something that I would always advise new parents to kind of stay away from. What you can get instead is wearable blankets. So for younger babies, for newborns, I would just recommend getting a swaddle. I think swaddles make them feel safe, snug. They have so many different kinds available in the market. They're all great. You can get that big muslin swaddle that literally just like wrap them around like a
yeah,
mummy. It's so cute. Or you can get one of those zipper swaddles, if you don't want to do the whole
yeah.
origami of, a muslin swaddle. And once your baby is older, let's say they're out of the swaddling age group, they're 3, 4 months old and beyond, I want you to get a wearable blanket. And you know what a wearable blanket is? It's basically, think of a sleeping bag, like the one that the
Okay.
kind that you use
Oh
for
yeah.
camping.
Yes.
So a sleeping bag for your
I
child in which they can
love
get their
those.
arms out. It's
I love
so
those.
comfortable for them. You are never worried about the blanket covering their face. You're never worried about
So
them kicking off the blanket and getting cold. So get a wearable blanket. Such an amazing option.
And with blankets, I've noticed it's like such a big gifting item. So many people get blankets as gifts. So, guys, please put those blankets away. I have two questions for you. Those zip ones, I was never sure. Are they okay for the babies? I always saw them. I did the
Most
regular
definitely.
swaddles, but the zip, they're fine, right?
The
Okay.
zipper ones are
And
actually amazing because it's so much
oh,
less of a hassle. using
Yeah,
it. And there are two
exactly.
kinds, by the way. There is like this
Yeah.
love to dream zipper swaddle in which the baby's hands
Yes.
go up like this in that butterfly
Yes.
position. And
I
that is
saw
supposed to
that.
help
Yeah.
with a little bit of self-soothing because they can get their hands closer to their
Oh.
face. And for some babies, they don't find that really good. So then there are these peanut shaped ones where the baby's hands are
Mm,
next to their body, next to their
got
torso
it.
or across their chest like that. And those are amazing as well. The peanut shaped ones are the ones I use with my daughter after a point. Yeah, that was a great buy. Blankets, no, no. Wearable blankets, yes, yes.
But I love the I think one of my favorite things was the sleeping bags. When I discovered that, I used to buy them at Marks and Spencer's. I think it's one of the best buys. So I know I used it for quite a while till my kids were about, I don't remember honestly. Maybe I would say even 3. But what age can they transition to an actual blanket again?
So I would say as long as your child is in a crib, you let them be
Mhm.
in a wearable blanket. Once they're
Okay.
out of the crib, then it's safer to actually transition to a full
Uh,
blanket. The simple reason for that is in the middle of the night, if they, happen to get out of bed, you don't want them walking around in the dark in a wearable blanket because they can trip and fall. But
okay.
if they're in the
Okay.
crib, it's still okay. So let's say my girl, she's still in the crib.
Uh,
I'm planning to keep her in the crib until she's at least 3, 3.5. So while she's in there, she's gonna have a wearable blanket. And then once she's out of the
mm.
crib, I will transition her to a full blanket. And I'm finally gonna start using those 4 or 5 baby blankets that I got when
Yeah.
she was a newborn.
So, and speaking about all these gifts that we get, one thing I felt that I ended up not needing was too many newborn size clothes because the kids grow so quickly that literally within like 2 3 weeks they're already on to like the next size. So what I would definitely do is, instead of getting so many newborn clothes, because obviously you get excited because they're so small and so cute, I would actually buy more of the 3 months, 6 months, a little bit bigger, because those small sizes, they just grow out of it way too quickly.
True, true. I think we spend so much money on getting newborn clothes, and they're like snap of an eye, and they're like, "What? Like it was just fitting you
Yeah,
yesterday.
exactly.
How did you grow out of it so fast? Such a waste of money." I totally get that. I think another high ticket item that I very much regret buying that I feel again I
Hmm.
shouldn't have is a baby swing. And I know this can be a controversial one because some people really love their swings. And I'm talking about swings of all kinds. So the one I had was that baby
Yeah.
Joey Serena. It was kind of like a dish shape, like a bowl shaped swing. And then it used to go like this, or, from left to
Hmm.
right, it could go front and back as well. I think a lot of other families they have different kinds of swings. There's the Mama Roo swing that is very popular. I would say baby swings in general. Sure, it can be a good place for your baby to hang out for a little while, but the
Okay.
reason why it's a regret buy for me is that two reasons. Number one, there is no guarantee the baby is actually going to like it, and it's a very high ticket items. I'm talking about like $300-400 and above is what you're going to be
Hmm.
spending on that swing. There's a possibility your baby may not like it at all. And the second thing, and that's actually a bigger danger to getting baby swings, is that if they like it, there is a big chance that you're going to end up leaving them in the swing a lot because you'll be
Hmm.
like, hey, my baby's enjoying it. They're happy there, they can sleep there, they can chill there, they can hang out there. So then you end up using the swing way too much, which is actually not good for your child's development. The best thing to do for your child's development during their awake periods is for them to be on the floor. Even when they're newborns, when they're 2 3 months old, they need to have that free range of motion and just moving around, strengthening their muscles, strengthening their skills. So using the swing like can become a crutch for your child that can delay development. The other thing is, well, a lot of times babies, parents are using the swing for sleep. And again, I know I keep harping on about it as a sleep consultant, but it is not safe, you guys. It can cause, again, because with swings your baby is not sitting in a flat position, they are sitting in this curved position, which can cause their neck to fall forward. And when a baby's neck falls forward, especially when they're a newborn, it can cut off their breathing, it can cut off their oxygen supply. It's called positional asphyxiation. So there is that risk as well, right? So I would just say,
Right.
save yourself, save your baby from that. Don't spend money on it. I would rather recommend that you invest in a good baby carrier. Like that would be my suggested buy. So with a baby carrier, what you can do is that you can literally just like keep them in the carrier, strap them on. Your movement as you are moving around the house, that
Yeah.
movement keeps them happy. They are kind of literally stuck to your chest. So, being close to you, listening to your heartbeat, listening to, like, just being very like skin to skin contact with you also keeps them happy. And most importantly, you get your hands free. You don't have to worry about like
And
holding the baby constantly.
hmm. But what about the baby, like for example, the rockers, like the baby Bjorn? I love the baby Bjorn rocker because it wasn't the one that vibrates, and so it was natural movement of theirs. So what I did is in the first few
Hmm?
months they'd just be on the floor on the play mat or on the sleepy head, and then after a few months I put them in the rocker so they could start looking, and it was a natural movement. So I thought that was definitely much better. I didn't even think about the swing actually.
Honestly, even with the baby rocker, that is actually
Hmm.
has the same risks as what I just told you about the swing, because
Okay.
it's about, see, at the end of the day, none of the items that we're talking about inherently, none of them are bad items. It's just
Hmm.
what ends up happening is that the way they are being used. So many of the families, they are using their baby beyond to get their child to
Right.
sleep. The company is very clear about advertising this is not for sleep, but then because it becomes an
Mm,
easy crutch for sleep, it ends up being used a lot. Same thing for play as well, to keep the baby happy. Because rocking motion does keep them happy, so we end up leaving them in the baby a lot. Even though we're sitting with them, we're interacting with them, the child is not getting the free movement that they need. And
mm,
honestly, like, if we do use it very often, your child could be spending 2 or 3 hours a day. So I would say baby swing and baby rockers, I would put them in the same category. Good to have, but not really necessary.
the
And
last one
spending
I
so
want to
time.
talk
Yeah.
about. The last one I want to talk about is the wipe warmers. Do you know about those? The ones where you like heat
You
up the
got one of those? I
wipes.
I didn't.
So someone got this for me and was like, at night, because at night the AC's on, it's a bit cold, especially during winter. They're like, if you're cleaning your baby's bum at night, you want to make sure that you're not, give it like putting a cold piece of cloth on their bum. So I was like, actually, you're right, because I don't want anything cold on their bum. So like, you need the warmer. Again, it's electrical. But then after like one or two times, I'm like, no, so I would just get warm water, and I wouldn't anyways use wet wipes at home. I'd use them for on the go. I'd use those like cloths, the gauze, and I would use that, dip that in the warm water, and then wipe their bum. It was so much easier. But I know that there are people who would buy it, but it's so unnecessary.
I agree. I mean, like, I never got one of those, but if I
Yeah.
did, I can understand it would quickly make its way into my regret buys. Amazing. So I mean, so many things we've spoken about. We have got sippy cups, 360 cups, strollers, loungers, pillows, bottle warmers. I mean, clothes, swings. There's so many things that we have covered here. So, new parents, if you're listening to this episode and all of these items, if they are in your list, you can either strike them off and get the alternatives that we suggested, or just use the things that you're getting them, but use them properly and use them safely.
Yes.
And that would be our main advice from this episode. Think about things that we regret buying and what we should have gotten instead. So I hope you learned a lot of very useful tips from this particular episode. Tune into our next one because we're going to talk about a very touchy topic, but something that is very relevant to the modern Indian parent, which is how do you parent without a village? They always say that it takes a village to raise a child, but most of us nowadays are not living with that village anymore. So, how can you still successfully and stress freely raise that child without having all that support around you? So we will talk about in the next episode. Tune in and we'll see you there.